What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another Dynasty Warriors Origins video where I'm picking my picks for the top 10 weapons that should be in Dynasty Warriors Origins. With the uniqueness of every weapon that's in Dynasty Warriors Origins, it makes sense why they only did 10 because you would have to come up with different utilities for each weapon. So at least some of these weapons I expect to see in the near future, and if we don't, well, then this will just stay a nice little wish list. Before jumping into the top 10, let's talk about one audible mention that I'm clumping together, and that's going to be the weapons that are unusable in Dynasty Warriors Origins. The fan, the club, and the throwing knife. Yes, they quote-unquote should be added, but they're kind of boring weapons, to be honest. I don't really feel the need to like push for these weapons to be in the game. I feel like it's kind of lazy just to throw them in there. Is there a way to make them cool? Maybe. I mean, because we have moves that the NPCs don't use, so there are ways to make it really cool, but I just think it'll be quite the letdown if all we get for DLC weapons is weapons that we've already seen in Origins. The throwing knives, a club, and the fan, which, to be honest, they're not that great of a weapon. I mean, maybe there are some big club users out there. If you guys are a big club fan, let me know down below. But yeah, that's all I have for the honorable mention, just the weapons that are already in Origins. Now let's talk about the top 10 weapons that I wish were in Origins that are definitely not. Starting off at number 10, we have... So the first three are going to be like unique-ish kind of weapons. They're very, fit for just kind of like one character. You're not going to see multiple people using this weapon because they're kind of a specialty weapon, which is why they're at the bottom. The hook blades at number 10, just because I think they're one of the cooler weapons that got added back in Dynasty Warriors 8 for UA Jin. Love the mobility with them, the grappling aspect. They look really cool. I mean, I just think it would be nice to have another grappling type weapon in Dynasty Warriors Origins. You have the gauntlets with their moves and stuff, but imagine what you could do with the hook blade. The animations you can do and stuff, that would be so sick. Hook blades are always one of my favorites as well. That's why I have it here at number 10. Next up, coming in at number 9, we have... Now again, another specialty item weapon. We have the claws for Jung-ha. There's not going to be many other people using the claws. I mean, it'd just be weird to see people use the claws without it being Jung-ha. So Jung-ha needs to have his claws back. It's been so long since we've seen them. Let's not talk about how they came back in Dynasty Warriors 9, but yeah, the claws should have been added into the game at some point for him. I mean, maybe they're getting away from that because of his personality difference. He's not as flamboyant as he used to be, so maybe they don't want to give him the claws. Jung-ha was the first character I used in Dynasty Warriors back in Dynasty Warriors 3. He was just cool. And he's just not the same without those iconic claws to go with it. So for me, at number 9, I have the claws for Jung-ha. Let me know what you guys think about that down below. Next up, at number 8, we have... So the flute, again, another specialty item. Nobody else is going to be using it except for Zenji. It's just a classic weapon that has to be in the game at some point. Zenji needs it. She's in there. Maybe she becomes a companion, and you can also use a flute as well, which I guess could apply to the other ones as well. Hopefully they've been listening to us enough where it's like, give us full control of the companion. Maybe they'll bring in a game mode or something where we can actually do that. That'd be cool. Hopefully they do that. Who knows? Who knows? But regardless, the flute, not in the game. Zenji using, I believe, the throwing knives, right? It's all right, I guess. That's a default weapon they give to the female officers when they don't have the weapons they're supposed to have. But yeah, Zenji with throwing knives, it's great, but her flute is definitely missing from her, and she's got it in the cutscene at the end. I mean, she has it, so they're obviously aware of the cohesion that weapon brings to the character, but she just doesn't have it in the game just yet. Who knows what's gonna happen, right? Next up at number 7, we have the illustrious. Tonfas are an interesting weapon because they actually haven't been back since Dynasty Warriors 8. They weren't in Dynasty Warriors 9, they weren't DLC. It's been a long time since I've seen the Tonfas. Are they ever going to come back? I mean, Sunso's got the gauntlets now, so he's got his brawling style back. So is it even warranted to bring back the Tonfas, which could be so similar to how the gauntlets fight? I think out of all the weapons on this list, I think the Tonfas are the furthest away from being added because they've already been substituted. The gauntlets have a Tonfa feel to them, and you can see the way Sunsa moves. It's like he's holding his Tonfa. So in my opinion, out of all the weapons on the list, I think the Tonfas will probably be the furthest away from being implemented. That's just my prediction. I could be wrong, but we probably won't see tonfas until, you know, I guess they return back to the unique weapons, if they ever do that. I don't know, but yeah, tonfas are definitely heavily missed. I wish he still had them. You know, the pizza cutter he had in the last game was just terrible. I mean, he didn't even get it for 9 Empire. He got nothing. He got absolutely nothing, which is just a shame. But anyway, tonfas at number 7 for me. Let's go ahead and move on to number 6. Next up at number 6, we have... Okay, so for number 6 and above, these are weapons that I would gamble on being implemented first versus the other weapons, because these are weapons that can be applied to different NPCs, different characters. It'll fit other people. And when it comes to, again, efficiency, KT is going to take the route of easier kind of things versus, you know, trying to implement really cool things that will take a little bit more time or resources. Hopefully the budget's no longer an issue because they sold over 1 million copies of Origins. They did well, so hopefully we get to see some really cool stuff with the next one. But starting off strong, we have the Sword and Shield. I think it's a good weapon. I think it complements some characters really well. Hopefully we get to see not just, you know, Ling Chi, if she gets added as a DLC. It's not just for her, but like for other characters that come later or NPCs. Like it fits other people well because it's a standard weapon, you know, just your Sword and Shield. I hope that if Ling Chi does get added in for DLC, that she gets a different kind of weapon, like a cooler weapon. Like even if it is a Sword and Shield combo, just give it some style. She definitely deserves some flair. So Sword and Shield for me is number 6. It's a weapon that I think can be applied to most NPCs really easily, and out of all the weapons so far, it's probably the one that's most likely that could be implemented, but the top 5 are going to be the ones that are the probably easiest to implement. And with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the top 5. Coming in at number 5, we have... So this weapon's already kind of in the game, but it is kind of restricted to the Lance or the Crescent Blade moveset. So like the characters that have this weapon, the pikes, are like Lu Meng and Shu Huang and, you know, Yujin or Han Dong, I believe as well. They have like pike style weapons, except for, you know, Shu Huang has his axe, right? Which I guess I should have added onto the list. I didn't even think about the axe, but anyway, the pike moveset is one that I think will probably be added faster than some of the other ones because we already have these models of pike style weapons and they just need to add a moveset for them and then they'll be good. Whatever code that they use for pikes, they can just apply that to the people that already are holding pike and just change their moveset. I mean, that's a very easy implementation. So out of all the weapons, I think pike is probably the highest among, like I would gamble the highest on in terms of it being added because it shouldn't take too long to add something that's kind of already in the game, and they can play off of it with other styles. The Lance, the Crescent Blade, they have pike styles, you know, whatever it may be. So I wouldn't be surprised if the pike gets added and, you know, I don't know, Lu Meng becomes a playable companion or something like that. That'd be cool. Yeah, let's go and move on to number 4. Coming up at number 4, we have... The bow would be a cool weapon to see how they would implement into this style of gameplay for Dynasty Warriors, like for Origins, because it would just be cool to see some more range weapons in terms of what that could do, you know, how much effect could you have, the blasting effect and all that. Well, you do have bow battle arts, which are great, but it would be cool to have a full-fledged bow weapon that has a lot of mobility. Maybe you're jumping in the air, maybe it's more of a, you know, in the air kind of weapon that utilizes the air somehow, you know what I mean? Like it'd be really cool to see what they do with the bow. Again, it's a high probability of adding it because one, we already have battle arts that have a bow, so all you gotta do is add some new stuff to it, get some really cool animations. How does the character move with it? And yeah, I mean, the bow would just be cool to add. There's a lot of characters in there that should have a bow that don't have a bow. But an easy thing, again, to implement in. People have it. Again, it's another efficient weapon that they can just copy and paste to different people and have a variety of different, you know, officers you fight and stuff like that. But yeah, bow for me, number 4, just plain and simple. That's what this list is. It's just, you know, weapons that should be in it, and these ones are probably the easiest ones to put in. Let's go on to number 3. Number 3, we have the... Okay, so just for the prospect alone of what it could do in the game is what makes me wish it was in the game, because just seeing what, like, the mobility, the whirlwind of blasting energy and stuff, like the fans in this game, you know, the Da Xiao, Xiao Xiao, Twin Fan, Iron Fan, whatever you want to call it, would be really fun to see how they implement. I'm just going off of what they've already done with the fan, and imagine that in here. I mean, you could do so much with it, so many cool things. They turn this into the shredding Wheel of Death again, you know, whatever it may be. It would be really cool to see how they would implement the fan, and then of course, you know, adding the Chow sisters and all that would be great as well. Some cool new characters to play with and see how they would interact in the world of Origins. Hopefully they don't take any of the romantic aspects with the Chow sisters, and hopefully they just bring in their weapons and we get to use them. That would be so sick to see, because I think the Iron fans would be really cool to see in terms of this gameplay in Origin. Next up at number 2, we have... Similar feeling to the Iron fan, it'd be really cool to see how the giant sword would be implemented for Dynasty Warriors Origins. I just think it would be a whirlwind of blasting wind and you know, lightning and just destroying the ground and people flying. I mean, it'd be really cool to see how the giant sword would be implemented. Of course, with the giant sword being a staple for NPCs, I mean, they could just copy and paste again that asset over to those NPCs, and then they can hold it, which is again why it's number 2 for me. It should be an Origin. It's a very simple style weapon. It's a weapon that's been in the game for a long time, and it just seems to be one of those staples that the game is missing. Yeah, it would just be interesting to see what kind of things that they could create for the giant sword for Origins, and it'd be cool to see what they do with that. But yeah, let's go and move on to the final weapon on my list. Coming in at number 1, we have... You know, I didn't even think about this weapon until I saw like a comment or a few comments where they're like, where's the dual sword? And it's such a like common weapon to think about. Yeah, the dual sword should be in the game. Maybe they're waiting for a certain character to come in because it's more of their style, but you know, Liu Bei is the dual sword guy. Like, he's like, when I think of Liu Bei, I think of him and having a dual sword. So, you know, he's doing great with just a single sword and everything, but he's a, you know, he's a pretty decent fighter. He can handle himself with a couple blades, and there's a bunch of characters in there that are very fine swordsman. You know, Zhu Shu's the same way as well. He's a great swordsman. I didn't even think about the dual swords not being in the game until someone pointed it out, because that's how common it should be, and that's why it's here at number 1 for me, because the dual sword should be in the game. It's one of those things that you could play off of and really put into the game and make it easy. Of course, you can give to other NPCs, but it's mainly for the companions or for the unique NPCs that they are now. It's crazy to think about that our favorite characters are kind of like NPCs now, but you give it to Liu Bei, you can give it to Zhu Shu, you can give it to, you know, Cao Pi when he gets at it, Lu Xun when he gets at it, whatever it may be, and it could fit them. I mean, it's just a weapon that makes a lot of sense that should be in the game, that's not in the game. But again, if I had to take my money and put it on what I think would be implemented for sure in DLC or Origins 2, it's the pike. The pike for me at number 5 was probably the highest probability of being implemented first, and then probably like maybe the bow, the dual sword, things that can be copy and pasted around, which is so sad to say, but that's how I see it. That's what they're probably going to do for now, and hopefully whatever budget they're trying to hold on to, they really take it and put it into Dynasty Warriors Origins 2 and make it the game that Origins could have been, because Origins is on the cusp of one of the best Dynasty Warriors games, but the reason that it's not is because of the things that it's missing, and I'm assuming it's because of budget, but that's no longer an issue with the game moving forward. So if we see something similar to Origins and Origins 2, then I don't know for sure if it's budget or if it's just laziness. Anyway, guys, that's all I have for the video here. Hope you all enjoyed it. Which weapon do you guys want to see in Dynasty Warriors Origins? Which weapon are you guys missing the most? Hopefully we'll see it in DLC. Who knows what's going to happen with that. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, definitely appreciate a like, comment, or subscribe. And I will see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching, everyone.